Take two, because I recorded a whole video and didn't get one word of it on camera. Special. All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys today about what it takes to be a reader, what it takes to be someone who reads consistently or on a regular basis. Also, what can benefit you from Booktube, how it can be hurtful, how it can be helpful, things like that. So let's go ahead and jump into that and we'll get rolling. So first off, I want to take time to talk about what it takes to develop some skills as a reader. Reading doesn't just happen overnight. You don't just become somebody who can read 20, 30 books a month and going from zero to that amount like that. It takes time to develop, just like with anything else. It takes time to exercise, to grow in. You have, if you're working out or something like that, you don't start bench pressing, with 2 plates on either side when you've never lifted the bar. So you take time to build up to that, to get to that point, and then it becomes easy and it becomes something that's not a difficult task to read. I've been reading since I was a little kid. My mom, I remember, would teach me how to read. I was like kind of an advanced reader when I was young. Would win like book challenges and reading contests and things like that, and it was really kind of instilled in me. And for my whole life, I've been someone who enjoys reading. I can remember some of my earliest times as a young kid. I had Hardy Boy books. Those were things that I just loved, and I would carry them everywhere. I'd be in the car reading, I'd be sitting at the grocery store reading, I'd be waiting on whatever reading, and I'd just always have a Hardy Boy book. And that was kind of one of my biggest things when I was little. And but over time, some of those things, life happens and you don't quite do that as much. And about a year ago, I purposed to read. I wanted to read like I used to, and I've always wanted to kind of rebuild that skill back up and keep it, the way I want it. And so I kind of purposed to start developing that. And so what I did was I began by just picking up a book and having a goal to get through one book. And I read this one book, and it took, like a month or so to get through. I just kind of would read a couple pages a day, or I would, whatever, have little bits of time. And I only got through one, or maybe I got through 2 books in a couple months. It wasn't very much. But then after that, I would pick up, another book and another book, and I'd want to read another book and another book. And it just kept kind of developing, and then it became easier to read longer stretches of books. It would be easier to maybe get a short story collection and complete a whole short story in one sitting, and then another short story, and then that book would be done in 2 weeks or something. And it was just kind of fueling itself a little bit, and the skill that it took to sit down and read for a length of time became easier and easier and easier. I probably now read between, let's say, 10 to 15 books a month consistently. And it's not a chore. It's not like I'm over, like if someone threw you under a bench press with 2 plates and you've never lifted before, it wouldn't be a crushing weight, of having to read that much. It's just, it's enjoyable. I want to. And the more I read, the more I want to read. The more books I pick up, the more I want to get through them. The more authors I discover, the more I want to read by them. And it kind of fuels itself, and it becomes enjoyable. This can be difficult for people, or can be disconcerting, or you can feel a sense of like you're not good enough or what have you if you're constantly on YouTube watching Booktube, and you're watching these people who read 20, 30, 40 books a month or something, or maybe they've read their whole life like this, and they've read every book under the sun that you can think of, and you talk to them and they're like, you've read that, wow, you've read that, and I'm not even close. I've only read, you know, whatever, Wizard of Oz, and I feel so lame because I've only read 2 books this year. And it can just be like kind of debilitating. It would be like walking into a gym and seeing somebody who's, I keep using the gym analogy, I don't know why, I clearly don't go, I just keep using it, but there's this, I don't know, just fits, I guess. It'd be like walking into a gym, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger there in his prime, you know, and he's just, you know, just jacked, you know, he's just yoked and he's just shredded, and you know, you're a stick figure walking in, and then feeling discouraged because you don't look like him, even though you haven't done any of that stuff yet, or you haven't got there yet, and you haven't worked toward that skill yet. It's something that's a lifetime developing thing, or at least, you know, not a lifetime maybe, but a devoted kind of thing that you do. I'm devoted to reading on a regular basis, and a lot of people that are on Booktube or that do this do it because they're devoted readers and they enjoy it and they like reading and they want to share that with other people. It's the reason I do Booktube, is because I enjoy reading and I want to talk about the books and I want to talk about things I found, and it's fun and it's enjoyable and it's just a way to share, you know. And that can be very encouraging too. You can get all kinds of encouragement and resources from Booktube on favorite authors or books that you may or may not like, things that you thought you might like but people just hated, and everybody just rags on this and it's just terrible book and what have you. You know, there's lots of resources that you can get, so it can be used for a really beneficial thing, and it can be used for a really discouraging thing. So I want to just encourage you to be careful of how you use Booktube. Don't be overwhelmed with not reading enough, or you're not good enough, or you haven't got to that point yet. Take your time. You're free to read as much as you want. You're free to read as little as you want. You're free to read as fast or as slow. You know, there's a lot of shaming that goes on Booktube of don't read this much, or don't read this little, or don't read this fast, or don't read this slow. And, you know, there's just so much, and everybody's different, right? Everybody's different. I have a hard time personally reading on e-readers. I cannot read on them at all. I have a good amount of dyslexia, and it causes me to struggle with reading for some reason on an e-reader. It just jumbles the mess out of everything for me, and I really struggle with it. I don't like it at all. I don't want to ever read on an e-reader. I don't have an e-reader that I even try to use. I'm sure I could develop that skill and get better at it, and I could make it a good thing eventually, but it is not something I enjoy. So when I see things about, you know, if you want to read more, make sure you always have your e-reader with you and you're carrying it around, you know, it doesn't fit for me. It's not going to work for me because I can't do that. So I like to have a physical copy, but not everybody wants to have, you know, 3,000 books in their library sitting in their, you know, they're surrounded by books everywhere, and it's just overwhelming and unorganized, you know. You know, that might not be your thing. Some people love to read audiobooks and have audiobooks going constantly everywhere they're at. I enjoy audiobooks all the time. I read them on a regular basis and listen to them when I'm unable to be holding a book in my hand. Sometimes I'll have a book in my hand that I'm reading and I'm listening to it at the same time because I want to comprehend it more. So I'll read it and listen to it, and I'm following along, and it's going in even more than it would if I was just reading it alone or just listening to it alone. So there's so many ways you can do things. There's so many different variables. I just don't want you to be discouraged by, you know, watching Booktube and feeling like you're not good enough or something like that, or you know, that you're being shamed for the way you do it because it's not, you know, it's not the right way because a booktuber said so. Okay, there's just a lot of that goes on, and it can be, I can see how people would be very discouraged. So if you want to be a reader, develop your skill, work on it, exercise it. Don't be discouraged by other ways that people do it, but be encouraged to find the things that help you to be a better reader, and work at your own pace, develop your own skill, find what fits for you, find what you enjoy. Your authors are going to change, your likes are going to change, your genres are going to change, but find what works for you. Hope that helps, and I'll talk to you on the next one.